My name is Raven Steele, and I'm 33 years old. This is the story of how I learned that sometimes the people who owe you everything are the same ones who will leave you with nothing. I'm telling this from my small apartment in Seattle, looking out at the rain-soaked streets, finally able to breathe after 10 years of holding my breath. If you're reading this, maybe you've been there too. Maybe you've loved someone so much you forgot to love yourself. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. Because I need to know I'm not alone in this. I need to know that someone else understands what it feels like to be invisible in your own family. It started the summer I turned 23. I remember the exact moment my life split into before and after. I was sitting in my college apartment in Boston, 3 weeks from graduation, resume polished, job offers on the table, when my phone rang. It was my mother, Patricia. Her voice had that tight, controlled quality that I'd learned meant something was catastrophically wrong, but she was determined to sound casual about it. "Raven, honey, I need to talk to you about something." I sat down on my futon, the one I'd bought secondhand and covered with a bright throw blanket to hide the stains. Through my window, I could see other students walking to class, laughing, planning their futures. I didn't know it yet, but I was watching my own future walk away. "What's wrong, Mom?" There was a long pause. Then, "Your father made some investments. Bad ones. Really bad ones." My father, Gregory Monroe, had always fancied himself a businessman. He wore expensive suits and talked about opportunities and ventures with the confidence of a man who never actually succeeded at anything. My mother had always defended him, always stood by him, even when his schemes failed one after another. "How bad?" I asked, though some part of me already knew I didn't want the answer. $2 million. The number hit me like cold water. I laughed because it was so absurd it couldn't be real. "Mom, that's not possible. How could he mortgage the house? Took out business loans using our home as collateral. Borrowed from some people who..." Her voice cracked. "Raven, they're going to take everything. The house, his car, my jewelry, everything. And if we can't pay, they'll come after your brother too. They know about Marcus's business, his family." Marcus, my older brother by 5 years, with his perfect wife and their 2-year-old daughter. Marcus, who'd always been the golden child, who'd gotten all the pride while I got all the expectations. But surely there's bankruptcy. Or these aren't the kind of people you file bankruptcy on. "Raven," the fear in her voice was real enough to make my stomach turn. "Your father got involved with some investors from overseas. Venture capital deals that went south. They won their money, and they want it in 10 years. Or they start taking pieces of the family." I sat there in my cheap apartment, holding my phone, watching my future evaporate like morning fog. "Why are you telling me this?" "But I already knew. Because you're about to graduate. You're smart, Raven. You always have been. You've got job offers from tech companies. Good ones. You could help us. You could save this family." Save the family? The words that would echo in my head for the next decade. "Mom, those jobs. I was going to start my career. Build something for myself. And you still can. Just help us first. 10 years, baby. That's all. You make the payments. We keep the house. Marcus and his family stay safe. Then you're free. You're only 23. You'll still be young when it's over. Only 23. As if youth was an infinite resource you could spend without consequence. I should have said no. I should have hung up and blocked the number and built my life anyway. But I was young and stupid and so deeply conditioned to be the good daughter that I couldn't even imagine what that would look like. How much would I need to pay? The monthly installments come to about $17,000. Plus interest, $17,000. Every month. For 10 years, I did the math in my head. Even with a good tech job, that would take almost everything I earned. No savings. No apartment of my own. No life. "I'll need to live at home," I heard myself say. "I can't afford rent on top of this." "Of course, honey. Your room is exactly how you left it." That should have been my first clue. My room. Like I was still a child. Not an adult about to sacrifice my entire 20s for their mistakes. I took the highest paying job offer. I got a software engineering position at a startup in Chicago that was willing to pay me $90,000 a year. It seemed like so much money until I started doing the budget spreadsheets. After taxes, after the 17,000 monthly payment, I had barely enough left for basic expenses. No going out, no vacations, no new clothes except what I absolutely needed for work. I moved back home to Asheville, North Carolina, into my childhood bedroom with its purple walls and outdated posters. My mother had turned it into a sewing room but moved everything out when I came back. The first night home, I lay in my twin bed and stared at the ceiling, trying not to cry. The next morning, I flew to Chicago to start my new job. For the first year, I told myself it was temporary. I worked 80-hour weeks, lived on ramen and coffee, and wired money home every month like clockwork. $17,000. Gone before I even saw it. My coworkers would invite me out for drinks, for dinner, for weekend trips to Wisconsin or Michigan. I always said no. They thought I was boring or antisocial. I let them think that. It was easier than explaining. I had one friend at work, a guy named Leon, who was also too focused on work to have much of a social life. He was paying off his own student loans, so he understood being broke. We'd eat lunch together in the office cafeteria, splitting the cost of meals like broke college students, even though we were supposed to be successful professionals. You ever feel like you're working just to stay in place? He asked me once. Every single day I said, I didn't tell him about the money going home. I didn't tell anyone. My mother had made me promise to keep it quiet. We don't need the whole family knowing our business, she'd said, which really meant, we don't want them knowing how badly your father screwed up. The first time I couldn't make the full payment, I called home in a panic. It was month 14. The startup had hit a rough patch and delayed bonuses. Mom, I'm $500 short this month. I swear I'll make it up next month. But $500? Her voice went cold. Raven, these people don't care about $500. They care about the agreement. If you can't make the payment, you're putting your brother's family at risk. I'm doing everything I can. I'm working 90 hours a week. I haven't bought new clothes in a year. I'm living on nothing then work harder. Get a raise. Figure it out. She hung up. I sat in my tiny studio apartment in Chicago. I'd managed to move out of my parents' house after 18 months, but only into the cheapest place I could find, and I cried for the first time since this started. Then I picked up my laptop and started applying for freelance coding jobs. I worked until 3 in the morning every night for 2 weeks until I'd made up the shortfall. I never missed a payment again. Years started to blur together. 23 became 25, became 28. My college friends got married, had babies, bought houses, posted pictures from vacations in Thailand, Italy, Japan. I watched it all on social media from my desk at work or my couch at home. Leon left for a better job in San Francisco. Before he went, he asked me out to dinner. You know, Raven, I've been wanting to say something for a while. My heart did something complicated. Leon was kind. Leon was smart. Leon was one of the only people who'd bothered to know me. I really like you. And I'm moving to California, so I figured I should just say it. Would you want to try? Long distance? Or maybe you could apply for jobs out there too. I looked at him across the table at the cheap Thai place we always went to, and I wanted to say yes so badly I could taste it. I wanted to tell him everything. I wanted to ask him to wait for me, to understand, to help me carry this impossible weight. Instead, I said, I can't. I'm sorry, Leon. I just can't. He looked confused, then hurt, then resigned. Okay, I hope you figure out whatever's keeping you here. I never saw him again. At home, things were getting worse. My mother called constantly, always with some new crisis. The roof needed repairs. Could I send an extra $2,000? Marcus's daughter needed surgery. Could I cover it? My father's car broke down. Could I help? I said yes every time. What choice did I have? I'd already given up so much. If I stopped now, it would all be for nothing. But I noticed things when I visited home for holidays. New furniture, a remodeled kitchen. My mother's jewelry collection, which she'd claimed was all gone, seemed to have plenty of pieces I'd never seen before. Mom, where did you get this bracelet? I asked during Thanksgiving when I was 29. Oh, this old thing. It was a gift from your father. With what money? Her face hardened. What are you implying, Raven? I'm asking how dad can afford to buy you jewelry when I'm sending you $17,000 a month and working myself into the ground. Your father works hard too. He deserves to give his wife a gift occasionally. Or do you want us to live like prisoners? I backed off. I always backed off. Marcus never asked where the money came from. When I visited, he'd talk about his life, his daughter's preschool, his business expansion, his wife's pilot's classes. He never asked about my life because he never thought to. To him, I was just Raven, his little sister, doing fine. The only person who seemed to notice was Marcus's wife, Vanessa. Raven, are you okay? She asked me once during a Christmas visit when I was 31. You look so tired. I'm fine. Just busy with work. You're always busy with work. When was the last time you took a vacation? Never. The answer was never. But I just smiled and changed the subject. Year 9 arrived like a prison sentence nearing its end. I was 32 years old. I'd spent nearly a decade paying off someone else's debt, and I was so close to being free I could almost taste it. I'd gotten promoted twice. I was making good money now, over $130,000 a year. But the payments had increased too, with interest adjustments and fees that my mother never fully explained. I was still sending home almost everything I earned, but one more year, 365 more days. I could do this. I started planning. When the debt was paid off, I'd take a vacation, a real one. Maybe I'd go to Europe. I'd buy new clothes. I'd go on dates. I'd remember what it felt like to be a person instead of a bank account. The final payment was due on August 15th. I'd been counting down for months. On August 14th, I wired the money, $17,342. The last one. The very last one. I called my mother expecting something. Gratitude? Recognition? Love? It's done, I said when she answered. The debt is paid. All of it. I just sent the final payment. There was a pause. Then, oh, good. That's good, honey. That was it. That was all, Mom. I just spent 10 years of my life paying off Dad's mistakes. I gave up everything. Do you understand that? Everything. And we're very grateful, Raven. Your father and I appreciate what you've done for this family. Appreciate. Like I'd brought a casserole to a potluck. I'd like to come home, I said quietly. I'd like to visit. I haven't been back in 8 months, and I'd like to see you, of course. When were you thinking? Next weekend? I could fly in Friday. Stay through Sunday? Oh, her voice changed, became distracted. You know, honey, next weekend isn't great. Your father and I have plans. Maybe the weekend after? Something cold settled in my chest. What plans? Just a little trip. Nothing important. We can see you another time. A trip? Where? Just up to Napa Valley. Your father wanted to do some wine tasting. We've been planning it for months. Wine tasting. In Napa Valley. While I'd been eating peanut butter sandwiches for dinner and working 100-hour weeks, right? Of course. Have fun. I hung up. I didn't cry. I was beyond crying. I just sat there in my apartment, staring at my bank account on my laptop screen, seeing the number that was finally starting to grow now that I wasn't sending it all away, and I realized something that should have been obvious all along. It was never going to be enough. No matter what I sacrificed, no matter what I gave, it would never be enough to make them see me as anything other than a resource to be used, but I was too tired to be angry yet. That would come later. 2 weeks later, my mother called. Raven, honey, we'd love for you to come home for Christmas this year. It's been so long since we had the whole family together. Christmas was 4 months away. Something about her voice made me suspicious, but I was also desperately lonely. I hadn't been home for a real visit in almost a year. Okay, I said. I'll book a flight. Wonderful. We have so much to catch up on. I should have known better. But hope is a stupid, persistent thing. I bought my ticket for December 23rd, planning to stay through the 27th. I spent more money than I should have on gifts, nice ones, expensive ones, the kind I'd never been able to afford before. A cashmere scarf for my mother, tickets to a basketball game for my father, toys for Marcus's daughters, they had two now. The flight from Chicago to Asheville was delayed by weather. By the time I landed at p.m. on December 23rd, I was exhausted, dragging my suitcase through the small airport. looking for my mother's face in the crowd at baggage claim. She wasn't there. I waited, checked my phone. No messages. I called her. It rang 6 times and went to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. I called Marcus. Hey, is Mom there? She was supposed to pick me up from the airport. I don't think so. They left this afternoon. My blood went cold. Left? Left where? For their trip. Didn't they tell you? They're going on a cruise. Caribbean, I think. Leaving from Miami. I stood in the airport, surrounded by families hugging and couples kissing and children shrieking with joy. And I understood. They knew I was coming. My mother had invited me home. And then she'd left me at the airport like I was nothing. Marcus, why am I here? Why did Mom invite me home if they were going on a cruise? Oh, right. Yeah. She mentioned that. She was hoping you could watch the girls while Vanessa and I go up to the mountains for a few days. We've had this cabin booked for months. The girls are so excited to see Aunt Raven. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. They hadn't invited me home for Christmas. They'd summoned me to babysit, Marcus. I just flew across the country. I haven't seen Mom and Dad in almost a year. And they left me stranded at the airport so I could watch your kids while you take a vacation? Well, when you put it like that, it sounds bad. Look, Raven, we really need this break. The girls are a lot. And you're always so good with them. I've seen them 3 times in their entire lives. Exactly. So this is a great chance to bond. Come on, Raven. Don't be like this. It's Christmas. I hung up. I stood in that airport for 20 minutes, shaking with something that wasn't quite rage yet but was building toward it. Then I called an Uber to a hotel, the cheapest one I could find, because even after everything, I was still thinking about money. In the hotel room, I opened my laptop and started looking at my finances. Really looking. For the first time in years, I pulled up my payment records. Every single transfer to my mother's account over the past 10 years. I'd kept meticulous records. A habit from my accounting classes in college. The total came to 380 over $2 million. Gone. Sent. Home. Sacrificed. Then I did something I'd never done before. I looked at my parents' social media. My mother's Facebook, which I'd avoided because it hurt too much to see their normal lives while I worked myself to death. There were the photos from Napa Valley, my mother in a sundress at a winery, my father grinning beside expensive bottles of wine, photos from last summer at a beach house in the Outer Banks, photos from a trip to New York City for my father's 60th birthday, Broadway shows, fancy restaurants, the works, my mother's jewelry collection, displayed in carefully arranged photos, thousands of dollars worth of bracelets and necklaces and earrings, the new furniture, the remodeled kitchen, the expensive cars in the driveway, all of it funded by my money. The money I'd sent to pay off the debt, the money I'd worked myself sick for, the money I'd given up my entire 20s for. I started going back further. Years of photos. And then I found it. A post from 6 years ago. My father at some business conference, accepting an award. The caption read, "So proud of Greg for turning things around after that rough patch. His new consulting business is thriving. Hashtag blessed never give you." 6 years ago. 4 years after I'd started making payments, I started searching more frantically. News articles, public records, business filings. My father had started a consulting business when I was 27. It had been successful, very successful. Successful enough that he'd paid off the actual debt within 3 years of me starting to send money. They'd lied to me. The debt had been real, but it had been paid off after 3 years. And I'd kept sending money for 7 more years because they'd never told me to stop, because why would they? They had a daughter who sent them $17,000 a month and never asked questions. Why would they ever give that up? I sat in that hotel room and I felt something inside me break. Not like glass breaks all at once. This was like ice cracking slowly under pressure, spreading fractures through everything I thought I knew about my family, about myself, about the last 10 years of my life. They'd stolen from me. Not the money though, that too. They'd stolen my 20s, my freedom, my chance at love, at friendship, at a normal life. They'd taken the best years of my life and used them like they were nothing, and then they'd left me at the airport to babysit. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in that hotel room with my laptop, piecing together the full picture of their betrayal. Every photo, every post, every public record I could find. The more I looked, the worse it got. My father's consulting business was worth over $1 million. He'd sold it 2 years ago and retired early. My mother had used my money to fund a small interior design business that folded after 18 months. She'd never mentioned it to me. They'd helped Marcus buy his house. $50,000 for the down payment. Money I'd send them. They'd paid for Vanessa's sister's wedding. Contributed to Marcus's business expansion. Bought a timeshare in Florida, all of it. All of it was my money. And they'd never once thanked me. Never once acknowledged what I'd sacrificed. Never once thought to tell me the debt was paid and I could stop. I made a decision in that hotel room at 3 in the morning. I was done. ATM. I called Marcus. Raven, it's early. What? I'm not babysitting. What? Come on. We're supposed to leave at noon. The girls are already excited. Then I guess you should cancel your trip. Raven, don't do this. Don't be selfish. Selfish. The word hung in the air like poison. Do you know what I've been doing for the last 10 years, Marcus? Working. Living your life. What does that have to do with I've been sending mom and dad $17,000 a month? Every month. For 10 years. To pay off dad's debt. Silence. What debt? You don't even know. They never told you. Dad made some bad investments and borrowed $2 million from some very bad people. Or so they told me. They said if I didn't help pay it off, those people would come after you and your family. That's, Raven, that's insane. Nobody ever threatened us. I know that now, but I didn't know it then. I was 23 years old and my mother called me crying, saying the family would be destroyed if I didn't help. So I helped. I gave them everything. I worked myself sick. I gave up everything: friends, relationships, vacations, savings, everything so that you and your perfect little family would be safe. I never asked you to do that. No, you just benefited from it. Where did you think the down payment for your house came from? Another silence. Mom said it was their retirement savings. It was my money, Marcus. All of it. The house, the wedding contribution for Vanessa's sister, the business loan. My money. Money I earned and sent home because I thought I was saving this family. Raven, I didn't know and you didn't ask. None of you asked. You just took and never once wondered why your little sister never came home, never posted vacation photos, never seemed to have a life outside of work. You never once thought to ask if I was okay. That's not fair. What's not fair is Mom inviting me home for Christmas and then leaving me at the airport so I could babysit your kids while you take a vacation. While they take a cruise. A cruise bought with my money, Marcus. Money I sent thinking I was paying off a debt that was actually paid off 7 years ago. I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. What do you want me to say? I don't want you to say anything. I'm telling you so you know why I'm done. Done with all of you. Done being the family ATM. Done sacrificing myself for people who see me as nothing but a resource. Raven, you're upset. I get it. But we're still family. Family doesn't do this to each other. I hung up. I spent the next week in that hotel room, working remotely and planning. By the time Christmas Day arrived, I had a complete picture of my finances and a plan for what came next. I'd saved nothing for retirement. Nothing for emergencies. I had about $8,000 in my bank account, the first real money I'd had in a decade. But I had skills. I had experience. I had a decade of 70-hour work weeks that had made me one of the best in my field. And I had rage. Cold, clear, focused rage. On December 26th, my mother finally called. Raven, honey, I just got your brother's message. I'm so sorry about the mix-up at the airport. The cruise was a last-minute thing and I completely forgot to tell you you didn't forget. And I felt terrible when Marcus told me you'd been left waiting. I hope you got a cab, okay? Anyway, we need to talk about babysitting schedules because Marcus says you're refusing to help out and I know about the debt. She stopped talking. I know it was paid off 7 years ago. I know about Dad's business. I know about the timeshare and the house down payment and all of it. I know you've been stealing from me for 7 years. Raven. Her voice went cold and hard. We never stole anything. You gave that money willingly. You told me the debt was still active. You let me believe I was saving the family. We never said the debt wasn't paid off. You just assumed. You lied by omission. We gave you a home. We raised you. We sacrificed for you growing up. This was just you paying us back. The audacity of it took my breath away. Paying you back? For what? For doing the bare minimum required of parents? We gave you everything. Private school, college, a good life. Do you know how much that cost us? I got a full scholarship to college. I paid for my own private school with grants and part-time jobs. And you didn't give me a good life, you gave me guilt and obligation and the expectation that I owed you for the privilege of being born. Don't you dare speak to me like that. I'm your mother. You're a thief. You stole 10 years of my life. We needed that money. Your father and I deserve to live comfortably in our later years. We deserve nice things after working so hard. So do I. I was 23 years old. I deserve to live my 20s, to make mistakes, to travel, to fall in love, to build a life. You took that from me. You took everything. Oh, please. You're so dramatic. You have plenty of time left. You act like we ruined your life. You did. We gave you purpose. Without us, what were you going to do? Waste your life on partying and meaningless relationships? And there it was. The truth beneath everything. She genuinely believed she'd done me a favor. That my life was worthless except for how I could serve them. I'm done, I said quietly. No more money. No more help. No more anything. You're on your own now. You can do this. We have expenses. We have commitments. So did I. For 10 years. Figure it out. Raven Elizabeth Steele. If you hang up this phone, you are out of this family. Do you understand me? You'll be nothing to us. I've been nothing to you for 10 years. I was just too stupid to see it. I hung up. She called back 17 times. I blocked her number. Marcus called. I let it go to voicemail. His message was predictable. Come on, Raven. Be reasonable. They're old. They need help. You can't just cut them off. What kind of person does that? The kind of person who finally realized she'd been drowning while her family stood on the shore and complained about getting splashed. I blocked him too. My father called from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered without thinking, his voice was acid. You ungrateful little bitch. I hung up and blocked that number too. The calls kept coming for weeks. Extended family members, family friends, even Vanessa, who'd somehow thought we were close enough for her to have an opinion. Raven, I don't know what happened between you and your family, but don't you think you're being a little extreme? They're just asking for help. Did Marcus tell you how much help I've given them over the last decade? He mentioned you'd been sending some money home. Look, I get it. Families are complicated, but they raised you. Don't you think you owe them something? I gave them $2 million. I think my debt is paid. The line went quiet. Then, 2 million. That can't be right. 2 million. $48,380. I have the records. I didn't know. Nobody did. Nobody asked. Everyone just assumed I was fine while I worked myself to death to fund their comfortable retirement. Raven, I'm sorry. I don't want apologies. I want to be left alone. I blocked her too. After the calls stopped, the emails started. My mother's were masterpieces of manipulation. She'd start with love bombing. I miss you so much. Honey, please come home, then shift to guilt. Your father's health isn't good and you're breaking his heart, then escalate to threats. We'll tell everyone what kind of daughter you really are. I saved them all. Every single one. Evidence. My lawyer would later tell me, though I didn't know I'd need a lawyer yet. My father's emails were shorter and meaner. You're a selfish cunt who doesn't deserve the family name. We gave you everything and you threw it back in our faces. I hope you die alone and regret this. I saved those too. Marcus tried a different approach. His emails were reasonable and measured. I understand you're angry, but Mom and Dad are struggling now without your support. They made financial decisions based on expecting that income to continue. You can't just pull the rug out from under them. Can we talk about a compromise? Maybe you could send them a smaller amount? Enough to help them adjust? The audacity was stunning. They'd stolen from me for 7 years, left me at an airport, tried to use me as free childcare. And now they wanted me to keep funding their lifestyle while they adjusted. I responded to that one. They adjusted fine when they were living off my money. They can adjust fine now that they're not. Figure it out. By March, the emails had mostly stopped. I'd changed my phone number. I'd locked down my social media. I'd built a wall between myself and my family that felt less like isolation and more like the first breath of air after being underwater for a decade. And I started living. I wish I could say there was some dramatic moment of triumph, some immediate joy, but the truth is messier than that. For the first few months, I didn't know what to do with myself. I'd spent 10 years in survival mode, every decision dictated by money and obligation. Now that I was free, I felt untethered and lost. I spent money stupidly at first. A $500 dinner that made me sick with guilt. A spontaneous weekend trip to New York that I couldn't enjoy because I kept calculating how many hours I'd work to pay for it. But slowly, I learned. I bought clothes that fit. I got a haircut at a salon instead of cutting it myself. I went on a date, a real one, with a man I met at a coffee shop who knew nothing about my past. It didn't work out, but it felt like practice for being a normal person again. I started therapy. My therapist's name was Dr. Chen, and she was the first person I told the whole story to. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Raven, what they did to you, that's called financial abuse. It wasn't abuse. They're my parents. Parents can be abusers. And what you're describing, the manipulation, the lying, the exploitation of your sense of family obligation, that's textbook financial abuse. Potentially fraud too, though that would be hard to prove. The word abuse rattled around in my head for weeks. I'd always thought abuse was yelling and hitting. I didn't realize it could be the slow, steady erosion of your life while everyone smiled and called it love. In May, 8 months after I'd cut them off, I got a letter from a lawyer. My parents were suing me. They claimed I'd entered into a verbal contract to support them, that I'd promised to pay their expenses, that I was now in breach of that contract, and they were seeking damages for the financial hardship my abandonment had caused them. I sat in my apartment holding that letter, and for the first time since the airport, I laughed. It was a bitter, broken sound, but it was laughter. They'd spent years taking everything from me, and now they wanted more. They wanted the law to force me to keep giving. I hired a lawyer. Her name was Jennifer Park, and she was expensive, but I'd been saving aggressively since cutting them off. When I told her the story and showed her my records, she leaned back in her chair and whistled. This is one of the most egregious cases of financial exploitation I've seen. And I've seen a lot. Can they win? Not a chance. Verbal contracts to support your parents? That's not legally enforceable, especially when they obtain the money through deception. But we're going to do more than defend you. We're going to countersue. For what? Fraud, unjust enrichment, emotional distress. They lied to you about the status of a debt to continue extracting money. That's fraud, Raven, and you have the receipts to prove it. The case took months to build. Jennifer subpoenaed financial records, tracked down the original debt holders, proved the debt had been satisfied years before I stopped paying. The most damning evidence was an email from my father to his accountant, dated 6 years prior, regarding the debt situation successfully resolved as of this month. Raven doesn't need to know. The monthly payments she's making are too helpful to give up. Let her think she's still saving the family. It motivates her. When Jennifer showed me that email, I cried for the first time in months. Not sad tears, angry tears, relieved tears. Because finally, I had proof that I wasn't crazy. I wasn't selfish. I wasn't wrong. They had knowingly, deliberately stolen from me. Let her think she's still saving the family. It motivates her. Those words would be read aloud in court 6 months later. The trial was small family court, not some dramatic TV courtroom. But it felt huge to me. I sat next to Jennifer while my parents sat across the aisle with their cheaper lawyer, a man who looked uncomfortable from the moment he read our counterclaim. My mother wore a navy dress and pearls. She looked like someone's sweet grandmother. My father wore his good suit and an expression of wounded dignity. They'd brought Marcus and Vanessa for support. The girls weren't there, thank God. Marcus wouldn't look at me. Vanessa did once, and her face was complicated pity and shame and something that might have been solidarity. The judge was a woman in her 60s named Judge Marian Hoffman. She listened to their lawyer present their case first, the claim that I'd promised to support them, that they'd made financial decisions based on my commitment, that I'd abandoned them without warning. Then Jennifer stood up. She presented my payment records. Every single transfer, $2,048,380 over 10 years. She presented the original debt records, showing it was satisfied after 3 years. She presented my parents' financial records, obtained through discovery. The vacations, the jewelry, the home improvements, the down payment for Marcus's house, all funded with money I'd sent believing I was paying off a debt. And then she presented the email. Let her think she's still saving the family. It motivates her. My mother's face went white. My father stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Judge Hoffman read the email twice. Then she looked at my parents over her reading glasses. Mr. Monroe, did you write this email? My father's lawyer tried to object, but the judge silenced him with a look. Did you write this email, sir? The context is, did you write it? Yes or no, yes. And is it accurate? Did you knowingly allow your daughter to continue making payments on a debt that had already been satisfied? A long pause. Then, quietly, yes. The courtroom was silent. Judge Hoffman set down the email and folded her hands. In my 30 years on the bench, I have seen many cases of family exploitation, financial abuse of elderly parents by their children, neglect, abandonment. This is not one of those cases. She looked at my parents, and her expression was cold. What you did to your daughter constitutes fraud. You obtained money through deliberate deception. You exploited her love and sense of family obligation to enrich yourselves while she sacrificed the best years of her life. This is not a case of a daughter failing to support her parents. This is a case of parents stealing from their child. My mother started to cry, the kind of dramatic, performative crying she'd always been good at. Judge Hoffman didn't even glance at her. The plaintiff's suit is dismissed with prejudice. The defendant's counterclaim is upheld. Mr. and Mrs. Monroe, you are hereby ordered to pay Miss Steele restitution in the amount of $1,400,000 representing the 7 years of fraudulent payments, adjusted for her lost opportunity costs and investment potential. You have 18 months to satisfy this judgment. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down. I sat there, not quite believing it was over. Jennifer squeezed my hand. You won. I won. But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like finally being allowed to set down a weight I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. My parents left quickly, my mother still crying, my father stone-faced. Marcus stopped by our table on his way out. Raven, I didn't know about the email, about any of it. I swear, you didn't want to know. There's a difference. He stood there for a moment, then nodded slowly and walked away. Vanessa stopped too. For what it's worth, I'm sorry, and I'm glad you're free. That was something, at least. The restitution payment was structured over 18 months. My parents had to sell the house, the timeshare, my mother's jewelry collection. My father came out of retirement and went back to consulting work. They moved into a small apartment in a cheaper part of town. I didn't feel bad for them. I probably should have, but I didn't. Marcus set up a payment plan with me privately. He insisted on paying back the $50,000 they'd used for his house down payment, even though it hadn't been part of the judgment. It's the right thing to do, he said when we met at a coffee shop to sign the papers. It was the first time I'd seen him in over a year. He looked older, tired. You don't have to do this. Yeah, I do. I've been thinking a lot this past year about how I never asked where the money came from. How I just assumed everything was fine. I was willfully ignorant, Raven. I knew Mom and Dad weren't rich, but when they gave us that down payment, I just took it. I didn't question it. I should have. Yes, you should have. I know you probably won't forgive me. I'm not asking you to, but I want you to know I'm sorry. I'm genuinely deeply sorry, and I'm trying to do better. For the girls, I don't want them to grow up thinking it's okay to use people. I looked at my brother across the table. He meant it. It didn't erase the past, but it meant something. Okay, I said. Okay. We don't talk often now, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Birthday texts, holiday cards. But it's something. A thread of connection that's honest, at least. My parents never apologized. Not once. The last email I got from my mother, 6 months after the trial, said, "I hope you're happy now. You destroyed this family. I hope it was worth it." I deleted it without responding. But I have thought about her question. Was it worth it? I'm 33 now. I have my own apartment, a nice one, with big windows and room for more than just a bed and a desk. I have savings. I have a retirement account that I actually contribute to. I have friends, real ones, who know my story and care about me anyway. Last month, I went on a date with a woman named Sarah who works at the bookstore I've started going to every Sunday. She's funny and kind, and when she found out I'd never been to a real concert, she bought us tickets to see an indie band I'd never heard of. We danced in a crowded venue and I felt young for the first time in a decade. I don't know if Sarah and I will be something, but I know I'm allowed to find out. I'm allowed to take that chance now. I took that vacation to Europe. 2 weeks in Italy, wandering through Rome and Florence and Venice like a tourist, eating gelato and getting lost on purpose. I cried at the Sistine Chapel, not because it was beautiful, though it was, but because I was there. I'd made it. I'd survived. I'm starting to understand what my 20s were stolen for. And slowly, I'm building what my 30s could be. But there are still hard days. Days when I calculate how much money I spent on lunch and feel sick with guilt. Days when I see happy families and feel that old ache of what I thought I had. Days when I wonder if I'm broken somehow, damaged by those years in ways I can't fully see yet. Dr. Chen says that's normal. That healing isn't linear. That I'm allowed to be angry and sad and relieved all at once. I'm learning to believe her. Sometimes people ask me if I regret cutting them off. If I miss my family, I tell them the truth. I miss the family I thought I had. I miss the mother I believed loved me, the father I thought was proud of me, the brother who should have protected me. I miss a version of them that existed in my head, but I don't miss the people they actually were. The ones who saw me as a resource instead of a daughter. The ones who would have kept taking until there was nothing left of me but an empty bank account and a broken spirit. Those people, I don't miss them at all. Last week, I got a letter in the mail, hand-addressed, postmarked from Asheville. I almost threw it away without opening it, but curiosity got the better of me. It was from my mother. The letter was short. Raven, your father had a heart attack. He's stable now, but the doctors say his heart is weak. He may not have much time left. I know you don't want to hear from me. I know you hate us, but he's your father. Whatever else happened, that's still true. If you want to say goodbye, you should come soon. Momi sat on my couch holding that letter for a long time. Part of me wanted to go. The part that still remembered being 7 years old, sitting on my father's shoulders at the county fair. The part that remembered him teaching me to ride a bike, to change a tire, to be brave. But that father, the one who taught me to be brave, that father would never have let me sacrifice my entire life for his mistakes. That father would have told me to stop after month 1. That father would have protected me. That father never really existed. Or if he did, he died the moment he decided it was okay to keep stealing from his daughter. I put the letter in a drawer with all the others. Evidence still. Always evidence. And I didn't go. 3 weeks later, Marcus called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. He died, Marcus said. This morning. It was peaceful. Okay, I said. There's a funeral. Saturday. I know you probably won't come, but I wanted to tell you. Thank you for telling me, Raven. He talked about you. At the end, he said he was sorry. Did he? Yeah, he did. I thought about that. About deathbed apologies and whether they meant anything when the person had a decade to say sorry and never did. I'm glad he found peace, I said. And I meant it. Not for him. For me. Because if he died angry and bitter, that would have been one more thing he took from me, the closure of knowing it was really over. Will you come to the funeral? No, okay. I understand. Marcus? Yeah. I hope you're happy. I hope you have a good life with Vanessa and the girls. I really do. Thanks, Raven. I hope you're happy too. We hung up. I didn't go to the funeral. I didn't send flowers. I didn't call my mother. Instead, I went to the bookstore and had coffee with Sarah. We sat in the caf section, and she told me about the book she was reading, something about a woman who walked across Spain alone. I listened and thought about how nice it was to just be here, in this moment, with someone who knew me as I am now, not as I was then. You okay? Sarah asked. You seem far away. My father died. Her eyes went wide. Oh my God, Raven, I'm so sorry. Do you need to go? Do you need anything? No, I said. I'm exactly where I need to be. She reached across the table and took my hand, and I let her. That night, alone in my apartment, I did cry. Not for my father exactly, for the father I'd wanted him to be, for the family I'd thought I was saving, for the girl I was at 23 who loved them so much she was willing to disappear. But I also cried with relief, because it was over. The last tie had been cut. I was free in a way I hadn't been even after the trial. They couldn't hurt me anymore. Now, 3 months later, I'm sitting in my apartment writing this story. The sun is setting over Seattle, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that I used to be too tired to notice. Sarah is coming over for dinner. I'm making pasta from scratch, something I learned on YouTube because I finally have time to learn things just for fun. My mother sends me emails occasionally. I don't read them anymore. They go straight to a folder I never open. The restitution payments finished last month. $1,400,000. It's sitting in my bank account right now, and I still don't quite believe it's real. Jennifer said I should invest it. Build wealth. Secure my future. Dr. Chen said I should do whatever feels right for me. I think I'm going to do both. But first, I'm going to take some of it and start a scholarship fund for young people who are being pressured by their families to give up their dreams, who are told they owe their parents for the privilege of being born, who are being used as family ATMs and don't know they're allowed to say no. I'm going to call it the It's Okay to Choose Yourself Scholarship, because I wish someone had told me that when I was 23. I wish someone had said, you don't owe anyone your life. Not even family. Especially not family who would ask you to give it up. I would have saved myself a decade. But maybe I can save someone else theirs. People keep asking me if I'm angry, if I'm bitter, if I've forgiven them. The truth is complicated. I am angry some days, furious at what they stole, at who I might have been if I'd had those years to myself. But I'm also grateful, because I learned something valuable, even if the lesson cost everything. I learned that love shouldn't require you to disappear, that family shouldn't feel like drowning, that the people who truly care about you will never ask you to sacrifice everything for them. And I learned that it's never too late to choose yourself. I was 32 when I finally did it. But some people never do. They spend their whole lives being used, believing that's what love looks like. I'm one of the lucky ones. I got out. So to anyone reading this who sees themselves in my story, who's sending money home they can't afford, who's sacrificing their dreams for family obligations, who's been told they're selfish for wanting their own life, I want you to hear this. It's okay to stop. It's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to walk away from people who treat you like a resource instead of a person, even if they're family. Especially if they're family. You don't owe them your life. You don't owe them your happiness. You don't owe them your future. The only person you owe anything to is yourself. And what you owe yourself is a chance to live. I'm 33 years old. I spent 10 years drowning so my family could stay afloat. And when I finally came up for air, they left me at the airport like I was nothing. But I'm not nothing. I'm Raven Steele. I survived. And now, finally, I'm learning to live. Sarah just texted. She's bringing wine and flowers. She does that sometimes, brings me flowers for no reason except that she saw them and thought of me. It's been so long since anyone thought of me like that. I set down my laptop and look around my apartment, at the art on the walls that I bought because I liked it, not because it was cheap. At the bookshelf full of books I finally have time to read. At the photos from Italy pinned above my desk. This is mine. This life. This space. This future. They couldn't take it from me because I finally stopped giving it away. And that's the real revenge, I think. Not the trial, not the money, not even the justice of it all. The real revenge is being happy. The real revenge is building a life so good, so full, so entirely mine that their absence doesn't leave a hole, it leaves space. Space for people who actually love me. Space for dreams I thought were dead. Space for a version of myself I never got to meet until now. I'm 33 years old, and I'm finally free. And that's worth more than $2 million. That's worth everything. If this story resonated with you, please share it. Maybe it will reach someone who needs to hear it. Maybe it will save someone from losing their 20s the way I lost mine. And if you've been through something similar, if you've survived your own version of this story, know that you're not alone. We're out there, the ones who chose themselves, the ones who survived. And we're rooting for you. Drop a comment if this story hit home. Tell me where you're from, what you're going through, or just that you're here. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes just knowing someone else understands makes all the difference. Stay strong. Choose yourself. You deserve to live your own life.